Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Ray Esports Racing Winter Tour, live on Apex Racing TV. Thrilled to be joining you once more. I am Jim Hodson. Joining me tonight in the commentary box is Tyler Newitt. Thank you so much for being here, Tyler. And on production is, of course, Dennis Branch. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is our third round. We are, of course, at Lime Rock Park tonight. You are seeing the open wheel cars going around the track. Tyler, what is your excitement level? I want you to rate it for me on a scale of 9 to 10.
Well, it's going to be about as close to 10 as you can get anytime you're using a Lime Rock layout that has the true classic uphill corner, where you get the air time at the end going over the crest. I think it's hard not to get excited, no matter what car you're running, but particularly something high downforce like these, to see these cars getting light on their feet as they crest the hill around Lime Rock. It just gets you going, I think. So I would have to say I'm at a 10, Jim.
No, yeah. Well, I set that up for you, didn't I? But yeah, no question about it. And the other thing I love about this track, in addition to everything that you've mentioned and everything that we'll talk about during tonight's racing, is that the start-finish line always reminds me of, as we just see it go by there, it always reminds me of the Run DMC logo. Because it says, it says the name of the track with like the start-finish line right there. We might see it here in just a second. Reminds me of Run DMC logo. Come on. Is it me? Am I out of my mind? All right, well, we'll leave it there. I note the quietness from the rest of the commentary team. All right, okay, we'll let it slide. Well, you're looking here at the qualifying results as we're just about to tick over the 12th minute. As you can see, everything is going very well. It's short lap tonight. Much as we love Lime Rock, it is not a long track, so not far for the cars to go. As you can see, just about 45 seconds at the top of the timing tower there for Rakusin, followed by Arabian, our good buddy Tranter. See a lot of him. And Gaspers, seen a lot of Gaspers as well. And Hill, Everard, and Sadra, of course. Mason, Ray, and Shannabrook just filling out the top 10 there. Not much more than a second separating them in that class, at least. The Mazda open wheel cars. Uh-oh. I am loving these liveries, too. Some classic liveries out there, Tyler.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to see the old Pro Mazda back in action. I know I'm a big fan of the new Indy Pro 2000 as well, but I had a lot of fun over the years with this car, so it's good to see it back on track. It's a multi-class race tonight with the Pro Mazda and the new USF 2000, which looks to be about a second and a half off of ultimate lap pace. It is a multi-class qualifying session, which is always entertaining. These drivers have 15 minutes to get a lap time while dealing with other cars on track. They're not just racing the clock here in qualifying. At the moment, as you mentioned, Evan Rakusin, the quickest of the bunch with pretty much a 45 flat, 45.003. That's a pretty quick lap time around here in these cars. This is pretty sporty. There's just about a minute and a half left in qualifying, as we see. That's Cater there running wide through the left-hander, although I think it was quickly becoming the right-hander the way he was looking to rejoin the track. Really, some of my favorite corner names in all of racing here at Lime Rock. You got Big Bend and left-hander and right-hander, uphill, downhill. Doesn't get much better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm digging it. And you will, of course, know the Formula 2000 cars because they have that awesome intake pod on the side that does, to me, look like it might fire a laser out of it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, unfortunately, everything's coming in instead of any lasers coming out of that intake pod, but I definitely see what you're saying. It does appear to be a sort of weapons turret mounted to the back of those USF 2000 cars, which is the big differentiating factor. But bigger turnout in the Pro Mazda class, not super surprising since it's a legacy car, so it's a little bit cheaper content on the iRacing server. Love that Wins livery on Brandon Abbott's car. It's been racing in, I think, IMSA and the World Endurance Championship a few times, and it looks good on a USF 2000 car as well, I have to say.
Yeah, I dig it too. It's got that Yeah, it really has that old school sort of feel to it. I'm loving all these, look, and this is probably something I shouldn't say, but I'm loving all these cigarette-based liveries. Here's the cool livery. I'm old enough to remember smoking. I know that you young folks don't really do that like we did, which is a good thing. I don't think you should start. It's a terrible habit to get into, but it was a big part of my childhood. Everybody smokes.
Yeah, that's a bit before my time, fortunately, I have to say, but uh, certainly have an appreciation for the classic liveries, the Team Cool Green there. Make you think Paul Tracy's behind the wheel, but it's not. It's Jack Tranter as he goes sailing into the walls, and he had the old Williams-style camel livery right behind it, which is another all-time great, I think.
There's a Lucky Strikes out there and Benson Hedges.
They got their bases covered, I guess.
Yeah, good times. Well, here we go. We're just about to finish up qualifying, and it looks like the timing tower as you see it will probably look pretty similar to the qualifying results, which we should see here in just a few minutes. Of course, as I say that, the qualifying, the provisional results disappear as we wait on the actual results, but they'll get to us here in a second. Now is a great time to tell you, as I see the logo come up, about a virtual racing school. Do you want to improve your on-track performance? I know I do. 50 data packs, road and oval racing, setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-on-one coaching virtual racing school. Check it out. So, your grid, if I may slide right into that. Here we see in first position, Evan Rakusin, as you mentioned, followed by Forenz Arabian, Jack Tranter, David Gaspers on row 2, followed by Justin Hill, Reese Everard, Dan Sadro, Jeremy Mason, Stevie Ray, Stephen Beardsley, Reed Shannabrook, and Thor Tulla, whom I know, well, I won't say I know him well, but I do know him. He raced in another series that I commentated. Followed by Zachary Rivard, Leighton Cater, Miles Crabb, whom we've seen before, of course, Caleb Patry, Andrew Abbott, Greg Laborde, Russ Lundberg, Brandon Abbott, yes, Zachary Whitston, Trevor Spar, and Thomas Kristen. I got a little confused there. I'm having some, I don't know what's going on, a little bit of brain fog, I think, Tyler.
It happens. Yeah, fortunately, we have a full pace lap here for you to regather your thoughts. It's nice to see. It's nice to see some names back from last week and some new names as well. I want to say I've seen Evan Rakusin, excuse me, our pole sitter in. I want to say it's the Rikmatech series that Apex Racing TV also broadcasts. It's definitely a familiar name, but some new names to the field. We didn't see Evan out last time that I recall, but some new drivers, some returning drivers. It'll be interesting, certainly, to see how this goes today. We do have another race for you coming up after this one, which is going to be, again, at Lime Rock with the GT3 and GT4 cars, which will be quite hectic, I have to think, and potentially a bigger field as well.
Yeah. It will be, well, it'll be interesting. And I think this will be interesting too. Super short lap, as you say, so we get a full formation lap. Normally we only get like a turn or two sometimes. So we'll get to have a good little parade around here.
No gridding. Well, I was just going to say, Jim, no gridding by class. So you do have some Pro Mazda cars that didn't set a lap time starting behind the field of USF 2000 cars. There is a gap between the two. It's about a second and a half. So we'll have to see if those drivers work their way through, although I'm currently showing them not on track. It's just Russ Lundberg who qualified back there. But there certainly will be some multi-class racing over the course of the race distance. I expect to see some dealing with traffic, but it's going to be probably a pretty even split, not like we saw last time with the Skip Barbers and the Spec Racer Fords, where they were fully intermixed.
Yes, well, there will definitely be plenty of racing on track as we're just coming around the back half of the track with just one lap to go. We should see the pace car go diving into the pits as we get out onto the start-finish straight, and then the fun will begin. nice looking formation there. A little bit of flame shooting out of the rear of the cars, it looks like.
Always love a flamethrower on iRacing. Ooh, they're off already.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. The the pace car is in, and a great start for Ragusin all the way down the start-finish straight with just a pretty decent gap on the two cars behind. That's Arabian and Tranter as they go into turn one. Don't see any major incidents in turn one, which is always good to see. We got a great leading pack there, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. Ragusin from Arabian, from Tranter, from Gaspers, and it looks like we've gotten away well through the first couple of corners. We are now, of course, on the back side of the track, and we'll see how everybody navigates the hill.
Did see Zachary Whitston was stopped in Big Bend. He's one of the cars in the USF 2000 class, and he's reset to the pits. As somebody goes spinning off there, that's Crab, another one of our USF 2000 runners having trouble early here. It looks like he just got loose, perhaps a bit wide over the crested uphill and lost the car there. We're going to see a replay here from behind. Oh yeah, just had it slip out from under him. It's so easy to do. I was talking about it at the beginning. The tires just suddenly feel like they've lost all grip because they have, because the car is starting to float as you crest the hill and lose that downforce, that downward force from the car. So shame for Crab. A couple of our USF 2000 runners set back early here, with both Crab and Whiston now showing behind the rest of the field.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely see that as we see, I believe that's Everard.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he just dipped the left side of his car into the grass, and that sent him around and into the wall on the opposite side of the track. Unfortunate for Everard.
Steven Beardsley also involved, I think, there as well. He has dropped, he's reset to the pits, actually, in his Pro Mazda. So trouble for a couple of the Pro Mazda, a couple of rather dramatic crashes there. And they've now made their way back to the pit lane. Up front, though, it's still Evan Rakusin by a second over Ferenz Arabian. David Gaspers in third, another second behind. So pretty evenly split. Gaspers has some pressure from Hill behind him, but at the moment, everything looking smooth and steady up front. Now, Jim, there is kind of one thing you have to keep in mind around Lime Rock, and it's that really the only major passing zone is into Big Bend at the end of the Sam Posey Straight. But something we see a lot in these downforce cars is if you're in behind another car through the downhill corner, you lose a significant amount of downforce. And what that means is that you can't take that final corner as quickly, and you lose some distance to the car in front of you as you head down the Sam Posey Straight, the main straight here. So it's going to be pretty difficult for drivers to make a pass here. They're going to have to rely on the car in front having a bad run through downhill, because even with the tow you get in behind, it's pretty much counteracted by the downforce you lose. As we get an onboard with Dan Sadro here, you'll see it probably in action. You just see how he starts to run wide, although the car in front of him took a bit too much curve and lost some pace on exit. Looks like Sadro's going to make the move happen here.
Yeah, you make a great point. It is so critical to go down that start-finish straight. And, if you have any trouble in that final corner, it's going to mess up all of your chances for passing. Although, if you don't have a great lap, and 45 seconds from now, you're going to have another chance. So,
absolutely.
The leaders in both classes are still doing fairly well for themselves. They are. We haven't had any major lead changes here. It's still Rakusin from Arabian, from Gaspers, from Hill and Tranter. And Rivard still leading in the F2000s, followed by Patry, Laborde, and Abbott.
Evan Rakusin just set his fastest lap of the race and the fastest lap of the race overall. It was only about a tenth quicker than Ferenz Arabian. So even though Evan Rakusin going as quick as he has done all day, in a 45-second lap, there's just not that much in it. So not much changing at the front. In fact, the gap is actually down below a second for the first time in a little bit. Ferenz perhaps just having a little bit of a better run here on this particular lap, but exactly as you mentioned, Jim, it's a 20-minute race, but at Lime Rock, that means more than 20 laps. So these drivers are going to have plenty of opportunity to do things right or do things wrong and gain and lose positions through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Arabian does seem to be closing that gap down a little bit, although Yeah, if you look at the most recent lap, Arabian just a little bit faster than Raxon, so Raxon might have had a little bit of a bobble there. Raxon's last lap was a 45.5 versus a 45.3 and a 45.4 going back through the field. So we could see a little bit of an effort to change the lead. I'm sure that Arabian, Gaspers Hill, Tranter, the whole lot would love to take that lead away from Raxon as we see him moving over just a little bit. It seems to try to break the toe down that start-finish straight, as it is so critical, as you mentioned.
For sure. As we look at Justin Hill and now jump back to Leighton Cater trying to make a move happen on Laborde here. Oh dear. And a spin for Laborde. So that move is done. I'm not sure if there was some contact there. That was for position, but not in class. So Cater in the Pro Mazda, Laborde in the USF 2000, and it seemed the quicker car there might have just not anticipated a slower run through the corner for Laborde and made a little contact with the rear. He does have some front wing damage, does Cater. We'll get a replay. Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
So Laborde ran wide in through the uphill, and there was some contact initially. I think Laborde then had a little bit of damage and was unable to take the west bend as quickly as Cater thought he would, so Cater ran into the back of him. Oh dear, that's another crash for a Pro Mazda. That is Russ Lundberg. So uphill claiming quite a few victims today. It looked like he just got on the grass and into the wall there.
Yeah, unfortunate. Of course, Lundberg was that was the Mazda who did turn in a time, if I recall correctly, but was a little bit down the timing tower, sort of stuck in those FP1000. So unfortunate to see. It was sort of an unlucky race so far, but you know, having had many an unlucky race myself, I know what it feels like.
Leaders in lap traffic now for the first time is just maneuvering their way through past that USF 2000 car. Evan Rakeson's lead has shrunk considerably. It's now down within half a second as we see side-by-side action for 5th place. And Dan Sadro's moving his way forward. That's another position ticked off. He was in 7th not too long ago, now finds himself in 5th, though he is some 10 seconds back from the race leader. But Evan Rakeson's gap now down around a half a second as they work their way through traffic. I think Ferenz Arabian is going to have something to say before this race is over.
Yeah, I would think probably so. Rakeson once again moves over to try to break the toe. Arabian right behind him as they go down into turn 1. I would think, yeah, this gap between Rakeson and Arabian has really come down, you know, lap after lap. But at a certain point, Arabian's got to make a choice of when to make his move. We only have a 20-minute race, and as you pointed out, you know, 45 seconds lap time, so we're going to have plenty of laps, plenty of racing to go. But Arabian's got to think, you know, he's got to be thinking, when should I make my move?
Well, and as we were discussing earlier, it may not be Arabian's choice to make. It may just be a matter of relying on Evan Rakeson to make a mistake, because you can get right up behind him, but as long as you're in that dirty air, this track is mostly corners. And even though the wings on these cars are not particularly large, dirty air absolutely does play an effect on the cornering ability of these cars. So given that Arabian doesn't seem to be, you know, I wouldn't say dramatically faster than Rakeson, I think it's going to take a mistake from Evan Rakeson to allow Ferenz Arabian to slip by. So what Arabian really has to do is keep the pressure on, be as close as he possibly can without losing, you know, too much downforce on the front and scrubbing those front tires, and just try and pressure Evan Rakeson into a mistake here and be there to capitalize on that opportunity.
Well, that opportunity may well present itself shortly, as the leaders are going to be making their way through lap traffic, as you mentioned. Now, as I look down the timing tower just to P3 and 4, oh, that looked like a little bit of a look there from Arabian on Rakeson, but he didn't quite have the time to make it happen. I believe that Gaspers and Hill have swapped places. Gaspers now running in P3 and Hill in P4. Looks like Tranter has had some kind of an issue at some point on track. He's dropping down the timing tower. He must have had something terrible must have happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, you're right. He's now in the pits and showing a lap down. I think the Gaspers Hill battle has been that way for a little bit, but I'm not totally sure. as we see what happened to Jack Tranter through downhill, turning a little too late. No, looks all right there. He just came into the pits.
Just came into the pits. Oh, mercy.
That looked like a... I'm wondering if that was something like a wheel disconnected, because it looked like he was just turning and then he just kept turning.
Yeah.
And he certainly didn't brake, so that seemed to be something of a hardware failure to me. Now, I'm trying to remember, did we see pit stops in this series last time? Forced pit stops? I'm not sure we did.
I don't think so. I just really quickly want to apologize to Tranter for laughing at seeing his car do that. It just caught me by surprise. I know that if something like that happened to me, I would be very annoyed and would have a lot of very short words to say out loud. As we see the leaders navigating lap traffic pretty well here. Arabian sticking to Rackson's gearbox, no trouble.
That was exceptionally well managed by both of them. They both caught the car that they had just overlapped at a rather awkward point. Rakison in the entry to downhill and Arabian on the exit, but credit to the lap car as well for leaving the racing line open for the leaders to get through, but both leaders managed it pretty expertly there. As we see, Gaspers also seems to be closing in just a little bit in third place, at least the last couple of laps, perhaps due to traffic, but we could have a three-way battle for the lead here coming towards the end of this race now, just a bit past halfway. Not, unfortunately, so lucky as to see a lead battle shaping up in USF 2000, it looks like. Zachary Rivard has 22 seconds over Andrew Abbott and 40 seconds over Brandon Abbott. So unless something dramatic happens in USF 2000, it looks as though Zachary Rivard has the race well under control. So I think we'll probably keep our focus forward on the Pro Mazda lead unless something starts to shape up in USF 2000.
Yeah, well, I'm still jealous. I would love to be out there in those cars. I love those Formula cars well, look, I just like driving cars, all right? So let's not be picky.
For sure. As soon as I say that, I've seen Abbott just dropped third position to Laborde, so something has gone on in USF 2000. Is that... No, that's not... That is... that's Andrew Abbott. Sorry, it was Brandon Abbott who lost third spot to Laborde there. I'm not sure if they're together on track. It looks like they are. It looks like Laborde's about a second ahead of Brandon Abbott. So there is some racing towards the back of the USF 2000 pack and throughout the field, I have to say. Shanbrook, Mason, Thortella all together in Pro Mazda as well within about a second and a half of each other. We see there's Shanbrook leading Mason, and Tulla ducks into the pit lane. So
He's got a little issue there.
He has a bit of an expired engine there. So unfortunately, Thortella is not going to be a part of that battle for any longer. But as we see the lead battle, not changing much. I think somewhat what we expected. You know, Arabian can close in down the Samposi straight, but through the twisty bits in that dirty air, he just loses the time back. So it kind of fluctuates between about a quarter of a second and a half a second over the course of the lap and pretty much stays there. But of course, with lap traffic, anything can happen, and they're coming up on a couple more drivers towards the back of the field. One of them a USF 2000 car, the other a Pro Mazda. So definitely could get interesting here. Oh dear,
no.
That was Rakison who's got some damage there. It was the two lap cars who collided in front of him, but Rakison definitely has wings bent on that Pro Mazda.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I wonder what that will mean. You know, oh, jeez.
Well, it means Arabian's gone through already. Look at that.
Yeah, we've definitely had a lead change here. I was just going to say, I wonder if this will even out Arabian's chances if he's right underneath Rakison's rear wing and losing a bit of, you know, sort of front end performance and losing a little bit of turn in and performance on the front of the car. I wonder if Rakison's performance will certainly be impacted by the lack of his aero, if that will even things out. But it has done even more than that. Arabian's been able to get around him, as you pointed out.
I'm actually a bit surprised that Rakison has held on as well as he has as we jump to Leighton Carter here, or Leighton Cater, excuse me, working his way past one of the lapped USF 2000 cars, I believe. I'm not sure which one that is, but we see Ooh, the battle for 7th is on, and there's a move by Mason on Shannabrook, and he's got it done. So 7th place changing hands there, but I think it's about to change back as Shannabrook got a great run out of downhill. He's got a extended lead into Big Bend. So Shannabrook giving up 7th briefly, but taking it right back from Mason. Impressive driving by Shannabrook there.
Yeah, great racing. Looks like Gaspers is going to make a move on Rakison and take P2 away. Oh boy, Rakison's got to be really, really upset about that aero damage. I mean, just one of those things. Lightning can really come out of the blue. I mean, that's racing for you, right?
That's racing. That multi-class racing. That's lapped traffic racing. Kind of, you know, the quintessential elements of every variety of racing that we have on display here today. It's open wheel racing, you know. These cars are, if you saw the same thing happen in the GT4 cars later, I'm sure Rakison would be significantly less affected because those cars can take a significant beating and keep going just as fast. So yeah, kind of the worst of all worlds for Evan Rakison here. And he, I'm sure, is quite disappointed with how his race has turned out, but it's not over yet. He is hanging on, as far as lap time goes, pretty impressively here. Obviously, he's slower than our top two, but he's actually quicker this lap than Hill behind him. So if Rakison can hang on, he can get himself a podium. And of course, just as trouble struck Rakison, trouble can strike the top two in the last 3.5 minutes of this race. It's certainly not over for Evan Rakison, but it's certainly looking a lot tougher for him to make that happen.
Well, you're absolutely right. We'll keep our eye on that interval. You can see it there on the timing tower, or you can see the gap there, excuse me, between Hill and Rakison. Yeah, he does appear to be doing everything needed to hang on to P3, but if Hill's able to catch him, I'm sure he will make a lunge. Just looking up at the time, though, we just ticked over into minute 17 of 20, so call it 4 or 5 laps-ish left to go, I'm guessing. Look, math is not my strong suit. I'm more of a performance guy. But hey, look, I think that's right-ish. Riding along.
Yeah, I'll wait till it gets closer to try any math on when this race might be ending, as we see Ferenz Arabian. And David Gaspers has really closed that gap down. It's now within half a second, and they've got some more traffic up ahead of them. That's 2 USF 2000 cars, and I think potentially 2, no, there aren't really 2 USF 2000 cars together on the timing tower. So that's our USF 2000 leader, Zachary Rivard, lapping another one of the USF 2000 cars. I think that's Greg Laporte, as Arabian is through past the first of the USF 2000 cars super easily. Really great lap traffic management we've seen from some of the Pro Mazdas today. So he's going to have to get by the Class 2 leader, that's Zach Rivard, in the USF 2000, but it looks like he should get it done into downhill, and Rivard gives him plenty of room to do it. But he did have to keep it tight on exit, and that is going to give Gaspers a mega run. Gaspers, with Arabian defending the inside, sends it to the outside in Big Bend. That's really difficult to make work, but he has the overlap. Can he make it stick into left-hander? There's a little contact, I think.
Oh, man, this is what I am here to see. What a great series of turns that was between Gaspers, Arabian, and Rivard. Now, Rivard, he's leading his class, so he's no slouch on the wheel, no slouch on this track. Just turned in the fastest lap of his class just a moment ago, but gave Gaspers a nice opportunity, as you said, as we see them go into downhill, right back onto the start-finish straight once more. Gaspers in the lead, trying to break the toe, but I think Arabian is going to have a little look here as we cross the start-finish line. Arabian will get ahead, probably going to try the exact same move Gaspers tried just a second ago. We'll see how it works out. I don't think geometry is in Arabian's favor in this instance. I think Gaspers is going to stay ahead just now, but we do probably have at least one to go. I think so. I think we're going to have one more lap to go. So this battle is all going to come down to this one final lap. Does it get any better than this? No, it does not.
I think so. As they work their way through West Bend into the downhill, they may get an extra one here as they're side by side heading down the Samposi Straight, battling it out. We'll see if the checkered flag flies. It has not, so they will get one more lap, and it is dicey as they head into Big Bend. Gasper is holding the slimmest of leads as Rackison has lost third place to Hill. But right now we focus on this lead battle. It is David Gaspers. Does Arabian have anything for him? He's going to have to get a great run out of downhill if something doesn't go wrong for Gaspers up through uphill and West Bend.
Yeah, positively thrilling. I wonder if they're going to catch that other car ahead. That is
does not look like it. They worked their way through downhill the final time. I think Gaspers has done enough. Arabian won't get there by a tenth and a half. David Gaspers is your winner at Lime Rock Park. Absolutely impressive. So we have seen. Oh boy.
Sorry to interrupt. He just crossed the finish line and speared his car into the other cars at the runoff of turn 1 there.
Yeah, I tell you what, we have seen some excellent racing in this series over the last week. It has been absolutely fantastic. What a great race between Gaspers and Arabian. And poor Evan Rackison there, who put in an excellent effort, unfortunately came up short.
Yeah, I'm sure that he's annoyed. I know that I would be after a sort of, really felt like he was commanding the race the first, 3/4 of it. Unfortunate. But we do have a race to go. So perhaps he will be able to regain some glory. It'll be a little bit of a roll of the dice. Now, here we go. Here are your race results. I believe that is the second class. Those are the F2000 results, I believe. And here we go. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Dennis. Here is your winner. David Gaspers just scampering over the start-finish straight ahead of Arabian. A thrilling race there. Hill, as you mentioned, was able to get around Rackison. Rackison probably not very pleased, followed by Dan Sadro, Stevie Ray, Jeremy Mason, Reed Shannabrook, some great driving on track, Thortella, my man, Leighton Cater, Russ Lundberg, bit of an unfortunate race for Lundberg, followed by Stephen Beardsley, Jack Tranter, Reese Everard, Trevor Spar, and Thomas Kristen. I'm not sure if Spar or Kristen actually participated in that race. Well, here we are with your Formula 2000 results. That's Zachary Rivard with a commanding win, almost a full lap over P2 Andrew Abbott, followed by Greg Laborde, Brandon Abbott, Caleb Patry, Miles Crabb, and Zachary Whitston. Thank you, everybody, for participating. That was a fantastic race. Thrilled with that.
Sure was. Jim, I'm just going to pull in our Pro Mazda and overall winner here, David Gaspers, and we will give him an interview. David Gaspers, you with us? Maybe we don't have David.
I'm here.
There it is. Hi, David. Congratulations on your Pro Mazda win. That was quite the battle you had there with Ferenz towards the end of that race. Making the move stick around the outside to Big Bend is incredibly impressive. What did you think you were going to be able to make that stick around the outside, or were you thinking you were going to have to give it another lap and come back around?
I saw right after braking, but I was a little bit ahead of him, so I think there was I thought there was a chance, and I'm not sure if I would have had another chance like that because Ferenc was a bit faster than me. I only tried this car for the first time yesterday, so I'm quite happy with the result. And already thanks to Ferenc for sharing a setup with me. I don't think that would have worked otherwise.
Well, I think Ferenz might be a little bit ruining passing you his setup after that excellent battle there, although I'm sure I would appreciate some great racing with a driver of your caliber. So certainly impressive. Certainly particularly impressive to be able to put in a performance like that, having just picked up the car for the first time yesterday. Do you think we saw Evan Rackison unfortunately have some contact with the lapped cars in front of him who were having an incident of their own. Do you think that had Evan continued on unaffected, do you think you would have had anything for him, or was it just hoping for the best finish you could behind the Evan Rackison?
No, the best I could have hoped for before that would have been P3. Both of them were faster than me. And after that incident, I was in Foren's draft. Otherwise, there was no chance of catching him for me.
Gotcha. Well, David, do you have anyone you'd like to thank before we send you off for tonight?
Yeah, as I said, Foren's for the setup, and yeah, you for broadcasting this, and also the people organizing this.
Well, excellent. Congratulations once again, David Gespers, your Pro Mazda winner tonight.
Thank you.
And Jim, I will pull in Zach Rivard, who won USF 2000, and you can interview our USF 2000 winner, Zach Rivard. You there?
Hey, yeah.
Zach, commanding performance out there on track. You must have felt great. You nearly won the race by a full lap. Was that in your mind as the laps were ticking down?
Yeah, I knew I had a decent gap, but I didn't really know exactly how big it was. I knew that I had gotten by third, but yeah, I wasn't sure where Andrew was. But it was definitely a good race. A lot easier than last week. I kind of swapped places with David. He had the boring race last week, and I had it this time. So it was welcome, though.
Well, I'm still jealous. It looked like a lot of fun out there. How are you? Did you enjoy the classic layout?
Yeah, definitely. I'm honestly more, I guess, accustomed to this layout than the new one. And I think had we run the new one with the chicanes, it would have been just total chaos because it was a lot of cars, differing speeds, and through the chicanes it gets really tight. So it was best we went with this layout.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was still fairly chaotic, especially getting back through the field. You really handled yourself well on track. I mean, of course, you won your class, so that's the definition of handling yourself well. But when the leaders were coming through and battling for the overall lead, you looked like you really had your eye on the rear view. So well done out there.
Yeah, I was I wasn't sure exactly how to do it. I wasn't sure where they were going to catch me because the USF is a little faster on the straights, but quite a bit slower in the turns. So I thought I was going to be able to let them by on the front straight, but yeah, ended up letting them by, and it turned out all right.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, class win is a little bit better than turned out all right, if you ask me. Well, anyway, congratulations on your results. Great race out there. Anybody you want to send a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to my dad, sister, my cousin Miles for helping me with my racing in the real world. Shout out to my mom and her friend Sylvia watching. And shout out to Steve Ray and Greg for putting this whole series on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to those guys for doing this. Thrilled with the racing we are seeing here. Zach, congratulations and good luck with the rest of your racing. Gotta love a driver that thanks his mom. Well done.
Absolutely, Jim. I think that is all the interviews we have time for, as we have to get set up for the next session. But definitely we'll be talking to more drivers after the second race. So feel free to jump back in after the next race if you didn't get a chance to get in for an interview at this moment.
Yeah.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Well, welcome back. Thrilled to have you back with us still. Or, well, we're back, aren't we, Tyler, at Lime Rock Park? Now in the GT cars, looking very fast around the track and just waiting for some cars to set their qualifying times. I am once again Jim Hodson, joined by Tyler Newitt, and Dennis Branch is on production. As you can see, Crab is currently at the top of the timing tower. That's a nice role reversal for him, isn't it, Tyler?
Yeah, definitely. Some names we saw in the race before running up front. Miles Crab, Dan Sadro, we saw getting a top 5 in Mazda, I believe, is currently 3rd in the GT3s. Ferenz Arabian, who was our runner-up in Pro Mazda in the previous race, is going to have another stab at it in the GT4s here. Currently 2nd quickest of the GT4s of the 2 that have set a time so far, but he will be trying to redeem his first race of the night, which unfortunately ended just a 10th shy of a race victory.
Well, so it goes sometimes. Now, I believe we are riding on here with Ferenz Arabian. Yes, we are. That car looks so tall to me, but I'm loving those purple wheels.
It's a bit of a clash with the classic traditional Pennzoil livery, I think, but they are pretty neat.
Yeah,
I have to agree.
he's got a classic Pennzoil livery there, but as I saw him go by, I think it's got a little bit of a shine on it. I think he's got some of that spec map magic happening there.
Certainly possible. I do a lot of iRacing painting, and the spec maps were probably the best thing iRacing has added. Like, you know, everyone gets excited about new cars and new tracks, but the best thing that iRacing has added in recent times for me was the spec maps for painting. It just makes things so many more possibilities for making iRacing paints. So I'm a big fan of the spec maps. We see that is Nichols, Murphy Nichols, currently second in GT3 in the Audi we're looking at right now. Decent variety of GT3 cars I've seen so far. I've already seen Audis, Mercedes, some BMW. We have a Ferrari as well. So certainly people picking a wide variety of GT3 cars. And although we've only had 2 GT4 cars set a qualifying time, we do have both a BMW and a Porsche. So always nice to have a little bit of variety.
Yeah, interesting to see the difference in lap time. If you were to imagine all of these cars on track at the moment, I believe, just looking at Crab's time here of a 47 seconds, I think they'd be running more or less alongside the Formula 2000s. And then Arabian at a 53 seconds, and his Porsche running quite a bit adrift.
Yeah, I have to believe if you went to a track with more wide open straightaways and stuff like that, the GT3s would be considerably quicker than the Pro Mazdas. But at the moment, yeah, they're slower than both of the cars we saw in our previous race for sure. 47.46 from Crab. We were seeing 45s for the Pro Mazdas and mid 46s for the USF 2000 cars. So in a twisty, turny, downforce track like Lime Rock, definitely helps to have a nice, lightweight, open-wheel car, I think.
Well, speaking of spec maps, here's Boaley in a gorgeous BMW. Look at that thing. Blanc
That is bright.
I think it looks fantastic. I'm loving it.
You could comb your hair in that car.
Yeah.
Looking at it in the mirror. But
well, we're gonna have
some currently sitting. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I'm just musing about how excited I am about seeing another race here at Lime Rock Park with some of the same drivers in sort of a different, shakeup of cars, because I think we're gonna get a good look. You know, it's a little bit of an interesting insight into as we see Crab.
Oh, that was some air there.
Crab taking quite a leap at the top of the hill there. But yeah, I think we're going to get an interesting insight to, how much of the results are driver and how much are car.
Definitely. For the drivers doing both races, you do wonder if perhaps they've put a little bit more time into one car than another, as I've just seen Ferenz Arabian has jumped into first place in GT4. So he's clearly one of those drivers who's quick in whatever he jumps in, considering how quick he was in the Pro Mazdas. But he'll be trying to win in that GT4 Porsche this time. But as you mentioned, Crab wasn't really up towards the pointy end in the race we saw just before this, but at the moment he is head and shoulders above the GT3 field. Only Murphy Nichols is kind of in his zip code. So definitely Miles Crab showing some speed in these GT3 cars that he did not show in the open wheelers the race before. As we see, that is Sean Foss going for a trip through the grass. As qualifying has come to a close, drivers can finish the lap they're on, so we won't read out the results just yet, but just a few cars left on track trying to set a time.
Yeah, that was quite an off there. Great shot of the stairs. As we see Crab getting air yet again. It just must be part of his programming for the track. I mean, if you can get the car straightened up before it takes off, hopefully you land in a predictable way. Seems to have worked out for Crab so far. Here he comes around the final turn. Let's see if he can improve upon his time. He was previously at a 47.6. Let's see how he does here. And it looks like he is about 2 seconds adrift of his best time, so he will have to live with that 47.6. But so far, it appears to be good enough, at least for provisional poll. We will have the results here shortly to share with you. Well, as we wait for the results, let me tell you about SDK Gaming. You can add a virtual live HUD to iRacing. This is exactly what we use, guys. So it shows the timing tower, enhanced relative boxes, mini maps. This stuff is all critical. Fuel calculators and more. Here come the results. You can stream to Twitch, broadcast your league and series, adjust your team strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing in iRacing. It's exactly the same stuff we're all looking at right now. Here are your qualifying results. Miles Crabb takes it. Well done to you, Miles Crabb. Followed by Murphy Nichols in P2. On row 2, it's Thomas Pendergrass and Antonio Garda, followed by Dan Sadro and Bryce Evans on row 3. They're followed by Charles Boyle and Joe Camilleri, and Sean Foss, Foreign's Arabian, David Sanders, DJ Alessandrini, believe that is. And last but far from least, Mark Romaninski. Thank you for joining us, Mark, in your number 1 machine. Looking forward to a great race. We will again get a luxurious formation lap. Normally we only get, a corner or 2, but Lime Rock being what it is, we'll get a whole lap.
Yeah, I'm hopeful we see DJ Alessandrini or Mark Romaninski. They didn't set a qualifying time in their GT4 cars, but otherwise it's going to be a bit of a thin field for Foreign's Arabian and David Sanders. They haven't loaded in yet, but hopefully there's still a little bit of time on the gridding. We see them pop in their cars.
Yeah, I hope they will. Well, doesn't look like we are going to have the benefit of those drivers tonight. Unfortunate, but we will have a race regardless as we head toward turn 1 on our formation lap. Well, look at that lovely overhead. Nice camera work there by Dennis Branch. Thank you, Dennis. You're a beast, and you know this. A little bit of weaving there by Pendergrass in his very shiny BMW. I'm not sure how much heat he's going to be able to get into his tires in a formation lap around Lime Rock, but hey, why not, right?
For sure. Yeah, you're going to need some heat in those tires because Big Bend is probably one of the toughest corners on the track to get around on cold tires. It's super tight and not particularly banked like some of the other corners around Lime Rock. So, I think we all know at this point that weaving doesn't really do anything in iRacing to heat the tires, but it's fun. So
yeah, it's
we
just
do see some drivers still do it.
Yeah, look, it's cool. What's always in my mind is, boy, am I going to feel dumb if I wreck before the race even starts, which I have done as we round the final turn. You should be seeing the car dip into the pit lane, and then we will be underway. Cars will be thrashing their way down to Big Bend, to that turn 1. So we see Pendergrass very nearly get into the rear of Crabb before the race has begun. Quite an aggressive move by Pendergrass. Let's see what happens as we start. Cars are rolling away, and we are racing. Crabb with a commanding lead. He's really doing everything he can to make that Mercedes take up the whole track, but Pendergrass is having none of it. Pendergrass passes Nichols for P2 as they get into Big Bend. I think there was some contact on back through the rear of the field. Yes, it looks like some cars moving around, but they appear to have managed the squirreliness. Oh no, even as I say that, Boyle, excuse me, yeah, that's Boyle in the number 13 machine, had a little bit of trouble there as he was headed around the track, but it appears to have gotten it back under control, and racing continues. Here we go over the hill for the first time, and it looks like Nichols has been able to control his car as well.
Nichols really struggling, though. He has dropped back considerably from the top 2 after qualifying in second. Certainly got wide again there through the uphill corner. I also noticed that David Sanders has gotten by Foreign's Arabian in the GT4 class. Arabian qualified P1, but has dropped behind the BMW of Sanders. That Porsche is better on long runs than the BMW and tends to be better through the twisty sections. So I think Arabian should have the advantage as this race goes on, but at the moment he's sitting about a half a second behind David Sanders. We jump back to the battle for third between there's a Mercedes spinning in the background there. That
was Evans.
Bryce
I think there was
Evans.
another.
Yep.
I think we had a little bit of contact toward the front of the field. That could have just been my eyes playing tricks on me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I definitely saw Evans spinning in the background there. Dan Sadro, a driver we saw in the previous race, we saw him working his way forward in his Pro Mazda, now trying to work his way forward in that Mercedes AMG GT3, working on Murphy Nichols for third place, but not able to do anything into Big Ben that time.
Well, he'll certainly have plenty more chances. We've got lots of racing left to go, just ticking over the second minutes in a 20-minute race, so we'll have plenty of time as we see Sadro not quite rowing at the wheel there, since he's got one of those Mercedes Batman-style GT steering wheels. He navigates the hill and manages to control the car, which is fantastic for him, but he is doing everything he can, I'm sure, to catch up to Nichols, who, as you said, has had a little bit of bad luck, but does appear to be finding his sea legs. I think Nichols might be closing that gap up to Pendergrass, but at the sharp end of the field, Crab apparently scampering away with this race.
He is just set the quickest lap of the race by almost half a second. Murphy Nichols you were correct, Nichols was quicker than Pendergrass there. He's now closed that gap to within a second, but he's going to need to get back by the BMW, which is not going to be an easy feat if he wants any chance at tackling Miles Crab for the race lead.
So speaking of people who have gotten their legs underneath them, it would appear that Arabian has gotten his legs in his 718. He is now all over the rear of Sanders' car, who is leading that class. I would expect to see Arabian make an attempt to take that away from Sanders. I think we'll see it any moment. Now he has a little look here. Weird place to see cars going too wide. It almost looked to me, Tyler, tell me if I'm losing my mind, but it almost looked to me like Sanders kind of let Arabian have that.
I'm not so sure it was intentional on Sanders' part to let Arabian through. I do know, I've done some racing in the GT4s. The BMW does struggle through turns considerably more than the Porsche does. I think Sanders just ran a little bit wide, just pushed a little bit too hard through the right-hander, and Ferenc Arabian had the wherewithal to stick his Porsche into the inside as they headed for uphill and made the move stick.
Well, kudos to these drivers for keeping it clean while also racing hard. It will be interesting to see now if Arabian is able to get away from Sanders. If Sanders bobbles it anymore, I'm sure Arabian will be happy to place a little bit more air between the Porsche and the BMW. Arabian, of course, had a great performance in the previous race. As we were riding along here, or not riding along with, but we were looking at Thomas Pendergrass under pressure from Nichols, although Pendergrass has been able to pass Nichols for P2. So,
a little flash of the lights there from Nichols. Clearly,
I'm not sure about that one, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's more of a, I'm quicker than you. I want to get through, and well, that's not going to work out so well for Nichols, is it? That's perhaps a little bit of karma biting there, but Nick.
Yeah.
As there was a comment on the driver chat as well, but Nichols just ran a little bit too wide through uphill, got his left side tires on the grass, and that was the end of that battle for now. But I'll tell you who's loving this is Miles Crab. The more these two fight, the more he can pull a gap, and he has now opened it up to almost 4.5 seconds over Thomas Pendergrass in the lead in his Mercedes.
Yeah, great work by Crab out there, looking like he was born on this circuit and has been going around it his entire life, looking very smooth in this Mercedes. Didn't have quite the same result in the open wheel cars, did he? But he's really loving it now, apparently. I thought that was a little bit of a cheeky flash on Nichols' part there to be blinking his lights as he caught up to the rear of Pendergrass's car. But look, my name's not Karma. I'm just a guy who's enjoying the race.
Yeah, I think light flash etiquette there's a wide variety of interpretations throughout the sim racing community. I personally tend to just flash my lights at somebody if, you know, they're my buddy and I want to mess them up. But
Yeah.
or I would say if you're a faster car in a multi-class race trying to get by a slower car, I generally tend to stay away from using the light flash button against cars in my own class if we don't have a rapport already. So maybe Nichols and Pendergrass have a rapport, but I think that was more just a little Nichols with his own creative interpretation on when to use the light flash button.
Yeah, I've gotten the light flash on track a time or two, and I feel like, just as you said, if we're running in the same class, you can show me that you want to get by putting your car in front of mine. It's no harder than that. I believe we are seeing here, is that Crab passing Arabian? I believe it is.
Yeah, it is indeed. The lap traffic coming into effect a lot sooner here. There's a much bigger disparity in lap time between the GT3s and the GT4s than there was between the Pro Mazdas and the USF 2000. So Miles Crab already worked his way through the entirety of the GT4 field, and he continues to open up that gap to second place.
Well, you know, I was speculating previously that it would be interesting to see if Arabian was able to open up a gap on Sanders after getting through, and we see Arabian now navigating Big Bend, turn 1, and he does have a little bit of gap on Sanders. Sanders now losing the car on the outside of Big Bend, and he will face some slowing down, so his gap now, he just lost, I would say he lost a strong 3 seconds there. Unfortunate, but plenty of time left to go in the race.
It does seem as though Sanders is just a little bit slower than Arabian. They qualified, I think, within a tenth or two. So there's not a huge speed disparity, but it does seem that Arabian has perhaps a bit more consistency, as we've seen a couple of mistakes already from Sanders.
Well, these things do happen, especially, you know, unfamiliar track, unfamiliar car, and especially with this layout, you know, with that giant sort of launch to the moon on the backside of the track that we love so much as spectators. But it is also a great place to lose a little bit of time. Of course, that was Sanders losing time in Big Bend there in sort of the very first turn on the circuit. But here we go with Sean Fos.
And Big Bend is not an easy corner, to be clear. It's a double apex right-hander with a little bit of banking, but it tightens up dramatically on exit. It doesn't look like it, but the track flattens out. And if the grass is so volatile, especially in iRacing, that if you just drop a little bit of a wheel, you're going to be sent spinning into the barriers. So it's not an easy corner by any stretch of the imagination. It's particularly tough to go too wide because you really ideally want to take it as a true double apex, and going too wide through there obviously would compromise your ability to do so. We see Antonio Guarda here in 5th place. He's kind of in his own little world at the moment. He's got a decent gap to Sadro in front of him and a decent gap to Boyle behind him. So just running his own race, kind of minding his own pace in that nice-looking Ferrari. He's the only Ferrari in the field. So just kind of in his own little world at the moment.
Yeah, it does appear so. It looked like he was really following your sage advice on how to handle Big Bend. It looked like a pretty early turn-in to me, but if you're making it into a double apex corner, that's exactly what you would want, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to, you don't want to take it too wide and risk running wide, but you also don't want to turn in too early because it can lose you some time on the exit as well.
Yeah, it's all about the trade-offs, isn't it? Well, Crab's not trading anything off. He's got his gap now up to 6 minutes. Excuse me, 6 seconds. Well, 6 minutes would be
It
quite
feels like 6 minutes around Lime Rock, but unbelievably, it is only 6.5 seconds.
God, that car looks so good in black. It's like a Batmobile. You know, they all look good, though. I love all these GT cars. Again, you know, I said it in the previous race, but I like them all.
I'm a big fan of these GT cars. I'm really excited for the new GT cars that iRacing has coming. The new Lamborghini Huracan, finally officially announced from iRacing, and
yeah,
the unbelievably ugly BMW M4, which though unbelievably ugly, I think will still make a nice complement to iRacing's current GT3 field.
So I'm just looking at Crab's technique as he handles that turn just before you go up the hill. And I'm not sure if he does this every lap because I only just noticed it, but it seems like on that turn in, just before he goes up the hill, he really chucks the front end of that car in, just counting on it to sort of straighten itself up before that hill launches him to the moon.
Well, that's what you want, isn't it? Well, I think we'll get a good view on board here as he makes that uphill corner, but you do want to get the car as straight as possible as soon as possible because you are going to lose grip. Your front wheels are going to lift off, and if you're any amount of steering angle in it when it lands, you're going to be in trouble. So as we saw, Miles Crab there definitely knows how to do it. Just getting that car straight before the crest of the hill. As it looks like we are going to have a battle for second here shaping up. Pendergrass, I think, has had something happen. He slipped back into the clutches of Murphy Nichols.
Oh boy, Nichols is going to be loving having another chance at this as he tucks just underneath. We see the
lights flashing once again.
So a little bit, boy, that seemed like a little bit of an early break there from Pendergrass, probably just trying to scrub off as much speed as he can, knowing that he's on the inside of the turn, so he won't be able to take the racing line as he normally would. We're riding along with on Pendergrass's splitter here, looking at that beautiful BMW, or excuse me, a Nichols splitter, looking at that BMW of Pendergrass just ahead. So this is about the point in the track where Nichols had a little bit of a bobble before and lost his car again, has a little bit of a bobble there. And Pendergrass scampering into the distance.
History repeats itself, as they say, and Murphy Nichols showing that perhaps he hasn't learned as much as he needed to from the last battle he had with Pendergrass, making a very similar mistake and running wide again on the exit of downhill. I've just seen, unfortunately, David Sanders is headed to the pit lane, so it looks like any semblance of a GT4 battle is done and dusted today for Enzo Raby. Can continue, I think, running away with this one. But this battle is certainly not over for second place. Nichols does seem to generally be the quicker car. He's able to keep closing in on Pendergrass, but not able to get a move done. And, you know, it's such a short track, Limerock. It's exceptionally difficult to make a pass happen. You really have to work hard. He caught a lot of air that time through and got on the grass again. It's clear that Murphy Nichols is pushing incredibly hard here.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I have been there. 100% have been there. You know, when you feel like, when you're able to catch a car 2 or 3 times in the same race, you have in your mind, okay, look, I know I've got the pace to get around this guy, but every time you draw up close to him, you have another little, just some little thing when you're really, really trying to, you know, you're really on the ragged edge of what you can do. And that's what we're seeing play out with Nichols and Pendergrass here. I wonder if Nichols will give him yet another flash of the lights. As he goes.
I'm sure he's given him hundreds that we haven't seen. It's you just kind of get that sense, don't you, that there's been plenty that the camera has missed. But he does at least seem to wait until he's within a reasonable margin of the car in front. He's not flashing it, you know, a second and a half back just to remind him that he's there. But oh goodness, they are both pushing hard out of downhill that time. That gap is just round about a half a second. That lap, Nichols was about 4/10 quicker. So Murphy Nichols definitely the quicker car. See the headlights flashing once again. And there they go again. I get the feeling. I wonder if he's just got the button like bound to the gas pedal, you know, so he doesn't have to worry about dealing with an additional button every time he goes around the circuit. Just every time he hits the gas or the brakes, I suppose, would be better because then you throw your car in front of you off under braking.
Yeah. All right. So here we go once more. Nichols has now closed the gap to Pendergrass. We got plenty of racing left to go. Plenty of time for this battle to play itself out. Now we are going to catch some lap traffic. We just saw it ahead. Nichols once again flashing his lights at Pendergrass. I wonder if this will throw any sort of a monkey wrench into the works as they catch that lap traffic ahead. Nichols wearing out the flashers. Somewhere in his car, a relay is giving off a little bit of smoke.
Yeah, perhaps he just, you know, wants to throw a party and he's enjoying the racing he's having with Pendergrass, and he just wants some celebratory flashing going on. But it seems to be the same story, third verse here. He can close right up into the back of Pendergrass, but he can't make that move stick. Although he's much closer this time than I think we've seen for quite a while here. Although it didn't get a great run out of downhill and got held up just a little bit by the GT4 car of Arabian. Has a deep dive on the brakes into Big Bend, but it's not going to be enough to make a move happen unless Pendergrass makes a mistake, I don't think.
Well, we have still a couple of laps left to go, so maybe he doesn't seem like... Oh, no. Oh, gosh, that was close. I just was sure there that Nichols was going to shovel Pendergrass off the track, but they appear to have. He's gotten on the brakes just in time. Pendergrass sliding the rear of the car there and managing to control it as they go over the hill. Pendergrass weaving around, I guess, to try to break the toe, although there's not much of a run from corner to corner there. Nichols has a look down the inside.
I do wonder if
takes a lot of curve and loses his car on the final turn. Oh no. Just took a whole lot of curb on the inside of that corner there, and it sent him flying.
Well, and props to Thomas Pendergrass, who has just come through on the driver chat and said, good race, way to keep the pressure on, as Murphy Nichols was for sure keeping the pressure on, but I think he was unfortunately keeping the pressure on himself a little bit more as he just caught the start of that curb, and it sent his car spinning. He was running ragged that whole lap before that, dipping tires. You had mentioned Pendergrass weaving. I think Pendergrass had gotten a wheel on the grass as well, which is what sent his car across the track. But unfortunately, that battle's over, but good sportsmanship in the face of the consistent flashing by Pendergrass to acknowledge the excellent battle that we just got to see, unfortunately, come to a premature end.
Well, I'm sure that all these drivers are in the same sort of mindset as most of the people that we know who do this, which is this is fun. This is not. This is something to take seriously, certainly to take your skills seriously, but not something that you really want to shout at people about. So hopefully all of that light flashing was in the same spirit as I took it to be in, which is just having a bit of fun. I mean, it was really making me giggle. I liked it.
Yes, as much as we were riding on Murphy for flashing the lights so often. It's just an entertainment fact. You know, there's no. It's not like these races count for anything in particular. These are just guys who like to race on iRacing, having fun, and sure, of course, there's some competitive spirit to it because, you know, I don't think there's anyone into racing or sim racing who doesn't have some semblance of competitive spirit. But at the end of the day, they're just here to have fun, have a good battle, and put on a good show, which they certainly did.
Well, speaking of a good show, as we flip through the field here, seeing a lot of cars with damage. We just saw Bueli's car, and then that Camilleri. No, Camilleri. I had it right the first time. And there is Arabian. And here is Sanders, whom we saw in the pits just a moment ago. Sanders running in second place. And it looks like Camilleri must have had a little bit of an incident there. I just saw his number. Yes, there he is limping along. I just saw his number go red. Might have had an incident trying to get out of the way of the leader, Crab, as he was being lapped. Crab lapping along. But you wonder what has gone on back through the field that we haven't seen, given all these cars running in, you know, sort of E6, 7, 8 with all the damage on. There we see. Yeah, it's Camilleri's car again, looking very beat up.
Yeah, I do feel like as we see Camilleri off track once again, it does seem like a lot of the damage has been self-inflicted for the most part. I haven't seen much in the way of drivers running each other off the road or making contact with one another. It seems for the most part to be self-inflicted damage as Miles Crab has crossed the finish line. Time is up and the race is over. Miles Crab is your GT3 winner. Thomas Pendergrass second, and it looks like Dan Sadro will round out the podium. Ferenz Arabian is going to be your GT4 winner, as we will get a good shot of him coming across the line. Unfortunately for Ferenz, not too much of a challenge in the second race, nothing like his race number one, but I'm sure he'll be happy to come away with a win. It still absolutely takes some skill to put in the drive that he did.
Yeah, no question. Great drive. Great race out there. Really enjoyed this one every bit as much as the previous one. Some great looking cars. Loving those GT liveries. But yeah, just a start to finish masterclass on the part of Crab. Managed lots of traffic and managed to bring it home. So yeah, a great race on his part and on everybody's part. So pleased to have been able to see this one. We should have results for you here shortly. There is Sanders pounding around one more time. Why not? Well, it looks like we might have some results for you here shortly. There are the Class 2 results. That was just a tease. We're not going to show you those yet. Here are the Class 1 results. Miles Crab, as you well know, takes the win and a 13-second gap from Pendergrass, followed by Sadro and Garda and Welly and Foss, who all managed to get around Murphy Nichols after his incident toward the latter part of the race. Nichols, of course, followed by Joe Camilleri and Bryce Evans. I'm not sure if Evans took the start, but if he did, he had an incident early. Sorry to see that, Evans. And here are the results from Class 2. This is Foran's Arabian walking away with his win. An unfortunate incident there in the race from David Sanders, and followed by DJ Alessandrini and Mark Romaninski, whom also I don't think took the start. We mentioned them at the beginning, didn't we?
We did indeed. They did not. We do have, waiting for an interview, our overall and GT3 race winner, Miles Crab. Why don't you
Sure.
take it away? Sorry, having trouble dragging him in. There it is, Miles Crab.
Miles
Jim
Crab.
Larson.
Yeah, congratulations on your win, Miles. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'd have been feeling better if I hadn't wrecked out of the USF race before this. My plan was to run both of them, and crested the hill with no steering input, no gas, and I self-spun and hit the wall. So jumped in here, got some practice. I like the Mercedes, so I can bring its neck pretty good. I just jumped in and started driving and got up to speed and somehow managed to win this thing.
Well, you did look really composed out there, in the Mercedes. I was particularly interested in the way that you were sort of setting yourself up for that run up the hill. You look like you're really throwing the front end of the car in and then just sort of counting on it, sort of doing what it needed to do before it actually took flight.
That's basically how you drive the corner. This car is an understeery car. The Audi and the Ferrari, you have to actually drive the car. This one, you do just kind of set it where it gets maximum slip angle, and the trick is to get it turned at the face of the hill and not be trying to turn it or have any yaw in the car as the wheels come off the ground. I don't know if it translates in the replay mode, but every time I crested the hill, I popped a wheelie. So the trick is to not be pointed at a wall or sideways when that happens. So yes, I'd get off the gas, brush the brakes as I turn in, and just try to square the corner off as hard as I can and survive the jump.
Well, you certainly survived it, commanding performance. So you got to feel good about that. And it seemed like, managing traffic and all that didn't seem to be any kind of an issue for you.
There were a couple moments, but with only 4 GT4 cars, unfortunately, I really expected this session to have 40 or 50 cars because these are the two most popular classes outside of the MX-5 in iRacing. Everybody here knows what they're doing, all SCCA members, I think. So we all give each other room and just be real respectful and try not to wreck each other. But this group's one of the cleaner groups on iRacing, pretty much.
Yeah, well, there was definitely a lot of clean racing out there. A great, as we just saw your car go in slow-mo over the top of the hill, we definitely saw your front wheels coming off the ground there. So yeah, that was certainly translating. So congratulations on your success. Thank you so much for a great race. Anybody you want to send a shout out to before we let you go?
Sure. Steve and Greg for putting this on. They do an excellent job. They do the Super Tour as well that ran in the winter, and it was quite fun to run in it. And this is the first time I'm rocking the Mad Sim Racing car. It's a little team that I do endurance racing with, and they invited me to come show off their colors in league events and such. So madsimracing.com. We're a fun group of people that are just trying to get together and be as fast as we can in the middle splits of iRacing is kind of our motto. So I'm glad I could get them a win on stream, and thanks to y'all for broadcasting it.
Yes, our pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And congratulations once again. That was Miles Crabb, your race winner.
And we have, looks like just one more interview for you tonight. Your, well, actually, where did you end up finishing? Your 7th place finisher, but it was certainly much more interesting, the race for second. Murphy Nichols, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. This is definitely one of those races where we ignore where I finished, and we just kind of, I don't know, focus on the battle. I guess it was definitely fun because I've raced with Thomas tons of times before, so him and I are very good together, and that's one reason why I was flashing him a lot, was just because he knows me well enough that I will do that, and I'm just trying to be like, hey, I'm gonna mess with you, see if I can try and get around you. But unfortunately, it couldn't work. I drove the car just a little bit too hard, and well, the rest was history.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that because we were having that exact discussion in the booth. I kind of made the same comment that that's when I flash my headlights like that, is when I'm racing with somebody that I've got a rapport with. So good to know you had that rapport with Thomas. But we did hear on voice chat once you had your incident in downhill that he was ruining the fact that you weren't going to continue your battle towards the end of the race. But absolutely, you guys were probably what we focused on the most in this race here. Quite the fight. It really seemed to me like you could get right up behind Thomas, but as we all know, Lime Rock is not the easiest track to make a pass happen, and it perhaps seemed like the Audi was at a bit of a disadvantage to make the move on the BMW. Did you feel like had you been in a different car, it would have been easier, or was it more just the track that was stopping you from getting by Thomas?
I think it was more just the track, and just maybe I probably could have put in just that much more practice. The Audi was the car that I felt most comfortable in because I felt like I could get around the corners very well, because I feel like this track is more corner than straight. And obviously, well, not obviously, but the big thing with the BMW is that it can be quick on the straights, and the Audi, I don't know as much. And I could definitely tell toward the end where Thomas would get a good run out of the final corner, and I would try to get one, but just from tire wear and just the Audi and just a bad run, I would start slowly losing time, but I would gain it back in the corners because the BMW is not the fastest in the corner. And I would get up to the note or to the bumper of him, and it was just so hard to get around him because there's really only one or two spots where I can do it without like causing damage to either one of us or ruining our races.
Yeah, for sure. We certainly saw you trying your hardest to make a move happen. Um, Obviously, we are both big fans of the classic uphill corner with the jump, as it were. We talked to the race winner, Miles Crabb, and he was telling us that he was popping a wheelie every time through. It seemed like you were having the kind of issue of getting your left side tires on the grass and having to gather the car back up, and perhaps that not setting you up as well for the West Bend. Do you like that corner? Do you like this layout of the track, or would you rather have been running the more comfortable chicane?
I actually really like this layout, and that's mainly just because this is the layout that I'm most used to, which is funny because my performance tonight may not show that well. But I I don't know, like there were just times when, like, I don't want to say I would lose that much focus, but like I would be so focused on like just trying to line up with him. And they say like never do what the guy in front of you does, because if he makes a mistake, you're gonna make a mistake. And I think I just overdrove the corner too much once or twice, got a wheel loose, and then I'm honestly, it's one of the times where I was going into the turn 6 and I was just on the brakes, and I'm honestly surprised I didn't lose the car there because I could definitely feel it, but I got to thank traction control for that one for keeping me on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Murphy, do you have anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go here?
Yeah, I'll do a quick one real quick. Got to thank a bunch of the guys at Brunswick High School again, and specifically my connections group. A bunch of the guys in there were watching the race tonight, cheering me on. So big thanks to Mr. Shupp and some of my other friends in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Your 7th place finisher, but perhaps deserved more than that, Murphy Nichols.
Well, what a race it was. What a show these guys put on for us. Thank you so much to Ray Esports and all of our drivers as we see the race winner, Miles Crab, on screen once more. This has been quite a night. Thank you so much to Ray Esports for having us and live on racing on Apex Racing TV. It has been such a ball. I am Jim Hodgson. Joining me in the booth tonight has been Tyler Newitt, and on production was Dennis Branch. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Cannot wait to see you again next time.